So,
you are the presenter now.
okay, I'm ready to go. Is the video enabled or it is not enabled? I don't think so.
We're working on that, sorry.
All right, no problem at all. Om Jnana Timanandasya Gnanana Salakya Chakshuran Minitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. When we go to Vrindavan, then the first place where I would like to go is to the holiest place of all places in Vrindavan. Actually, that holy place is found in the Krishna Balaram Mandir. And there in the Krishna Balaram Mandir, we find two places. One is Srila Prabhupada's house, and the other place is Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi. And it is there where our journey begins. We are in Srila Prabhupada's house, and Srila Prabhupada is seated on his Vyasasana, and above his head am I unmuted now? Seems to be. Is it okay?
Yes, Maharaj, we can hear you.
Yes, it is.
All right.
We can hear you.
Okay. All right. I'll start again. So Vrindavan, we want to begin our journey from the Krishna Balaram Mandir, and we want to first go to Srila Prabhupada's house. And there in Srila Prabhupada's house, we'll offer our obeisances to the deities, and we will of the deity of Srila Prabhupada. And just above his head, there's a painting, and on that painting, there is Radha and Krishna. And Radha and Krishna are seated under, are standing under a desire tree, being worshipped by the 8 principal gopis. And in this way, Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan are unfolding. Just opposite of Prabhupada, above his bed, there's another painting. And in that painting, we see how Krishna and Balaram are returning from the forest in the evening. And it is very nice. There are so many devotees present in that painting. There are the green peacocks, and they're dancing, the green parrots, and they're dancing in the sky. The peacocks are dancing on the ground in front of Krishna. There are squirrels just sitting at the base of a tree, looking at Krishna in amazement. There is a river a river of cows and calves, and all eyes on Krishna. Krishna along with Balaram. There is, next to Balaram, there is a calf with natural tilak, a reddish calf with natural tilak. And next to Krishna, there's a beautiful white calf. And in this way, the residents of Vrindavan are also looking at Krishna. Mother Yasoda and the other elders are standing along the pathway and are celebrating now Krishna's return. Krishna's return. And then the gopis, either from up on the balconies or just peeking out of a window, the gopis are also witnessing Krishna and Balaram returning from the forest. Oh, well, if we are quick, we could just go there. In India, it is already late afternoon. So in India, it is already the time for Krishna's arrival is approaching. So why not be present at that time? In this way, we can also appreciate how amazing Krishna's presence in Vrindavan is. How every moment is overwhelming. Oh, Mother Yasoda is making so many arrangements for Krishna's pleasure. Mother Yasoda, she is personally feeling a little bit unhappy that her son has the bad habit of stealing from his nature. Of course, when a child is stealing, it's not taken so serious. But then again, as a mother, she didn't like it because she was thinking, now it's just childhood pastimes and childhood stealing, but it may well become a tendency. And then when he grows up, who knows what he'll be stealing? Therefore, she tried everything to somehow or other get Krishna to overcome this problem. As parents are always worrying about their children and what they might become. So, Mother Yasoda was keeping some special cows. And these special cows would be fed special grasses. And then she would be supplying these best grasses, and in this way getting the best milk. And she would personally cook the best milk sweets that you could possibly make from these best ingredients. And then she was feeding those to Krishna in the hope that he would be satisfied, so that he would give up these lusty desires to steal from other people's homes. In this way, we are looking at Krishna and his parents. They could see that Krishna was a problem child. There are so many stories about wonderful Krishna, and everyone is glorifying Krishna. But Nanda and Yasoda didn't see it like that. They saw this boy can't control his senses. This boy is a problem child. So in this way, sometimes Krishna is perceived as an ordinary boy, and then Krishna is showing his supernatural features. Then Krishna dances on the hoods of Kaliya. And when he dances on the hoods of Kaliya, after having been kept for a long time in the coils of Kaliya, then Krishna is dancing on the hoods of Kaliya with so much grace. And Vrindavana Natyabara. It is said that Krishna dances with so much beauty that it is forgotten. Those who see it get completely absorbed in the dancing, and some even for a moment forget that he's dancing on the hooves of a serpent, and then they realize again. So absorbing is the dancing of Krishna. Krishna is always transcendental. But the most wonderful thing is that while Krishna is always transcendental, while Krishna is always the omnipotent, omniscient, while Krishna is the ultimate, powerful, supreme personality of Godhead, his power appears to be limited to the power of a child. That is something amazing. Uh, that is amazing. How can uh, how can Krishna be limited like a child, and show the faults of a child, and show the limited power of a child? We see many times how Krishna's power is limited. For example, there's this Aboriginal lady who has a basket of fruits, and Krishna, he comes and he brings with him, as he has seen his parents do, a handful of grain. He has a handful of grain, and because he's only a child, he's dropping the grains on the ground left and right, but he brings this grain and he wants the fruits. And the lady is so enamored by Krishna, she gives him all the fruits. And then Krishna puts the grains in the basket. And then when she walks away, she notices that her whole basket is filled with jewels. So this is the most amazing feature, that he is simultaneously showing all these human features of a human child, and at the same time is the all powerful supreme personality of Godhead. That is most amazing. Of course, Krishna being the all powerful supreme personality of Godhead and the omniscient, all-knowing supreme personality of Godhead, that could also create difficulties for the rasa in Vrindavan, because rasa is predominant in the spiritual world. Here, in the material world, everything is controlled by time. The most powerful force present in the material world is time. Ultimately, no matter what it is, everything is destroyed by time. Therefore, time rules, and time is the most powerful force. But in the spiritual world, time does not rule. In the spiritual world, it is said that time is absent. Time is the time is absent in the sense that it doesn't rule. There is a sense of time. There's a beginning. There's the morning, and there's the evening. So there's going out to the forest. There's coming back to the forest. So there seems to be beginning and end, but time doesn't rule in the spiritual world. If Krishna goes to the forest, he may cross long distances, but he may do so in only short time. Or other times, time can be stretched. we see, for example, in the Rasa dance, it said that one night, the one night of the Rasa dance lasted as long as a night of Brahma. In this way, we can appreciate how Krishna, his pastimes, are full of depth and are really miraculous. When I was new in the temple, one of the senior devotees instructed me to read a Back to Godhead magazine uh, while I was waiting to meet with the temple president. So I was reading the magazine, and but before reading it, I said, "No, I already read that magazine." Then the devotee said, "Krishna's pastimes are ever fresh. One can read it again and again." So I did read it again and again. I had to wait for quite some time. And as I was reading it again and again, I found so many things. I found so many things that I hadn't found before. And that was very interesting. Yes, that was very interesting. How, uh, because I realized that previously, before I was a devotee, somehow or other I had gotten a Krishna book. And as I was reading the Krishna book, I thought that the Krishna book was not a very good book. And the reason why, because I felt there was no plot in the book. It was, there was Krishna, and there was some demons, and Krishna would appear, and 1, 2, 3, demon dead, And I go, what kind of book is this? I wanted the kind of book where you just don't know who's gonna win, and then you want to just look at the last page, I mean, you can't tolerate the suspense any longer, and you have to look at the last page to see, did Krishna win or the demon? But no, Krishna would always win. So I thought, nah, I didn't like the book so much. But later, I began to realize it's not about, is there a new story? Is there something? It is about the details of the story, and to enter deeper and deeper into the details. We are visiting Vrindavan Dham. We can do it in our mind. That is not a problem. Lord Chaitanya would say, for most people, the heart and the mind are the same. And because my heart is Vrindavan, my mind is Vrindavan. And therefore, uh, because my mind is Vrindavan, therefore, speaking now in the mood of Srimati Radharani and speaking to Krishna, my mind is Vrindavan, and because you like Vrindavan, why don't you place your lotus feet there? So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was completely living in consciousness in the mood of Vrindavan. And it is that consciousness, that mood of Vrindavan, that is really important. That is what really counts. Huh? The mind. The mind is to become Vrindavan. Now currently our mind is not Vrindavan because there's so many material things on our mind. We could at least go in the mind to Vrindavan. And in that way, by in our mind going to Vrindavan, we can explore what is going on. So I have a book which we compiled, and it's called Under the Desire Trees. And
Calling me or you?
sorry, I can hear you speaking. I don't know. Under the desire trees, a search for Krishna in Vrindavan. So I'll read you a little bit from the beginning. Just hold on. Okay, hold on. Madhuva. Your instructions do not resonate in my heart, said Dhruva. He had an anger issue and was advised by Narada to give it up, but he could not. Like Dhruva, we also find ourselves with mixed motives that keep us in the outer circle, distant from the pure devotees. In Dhruva Tila, we see our own lack of alignment and pray to embrace the desires of our spiritual master, not just externally, but wholeheartedly. Madhuvan got its name from the fact that Satrugna came here and killed the son of the demon Madhu. The son was called Lavan. It is said that this Madhuvan is the original site where Mathura was founded. That would put Mathura back in the Treta Yuga because Satrugna lived then. Later, Dhruva Maharaj came to this place. Dhruva Maharaj went through that frustrating experience of being denied the opportunity to sit on the lap of his father. The birth of harsh speech. Srimad Bhagavatam begins the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj with a narration describing the sons of Lord Brahma. In there we find some interesting details. It says, Maitreya Uvacha, Sanakadya Narada Sa, Ribur Hamsa Runir Yati, Naitya Grihan Brahma Sutta, Yavasan Udarita Sa. The great sage Maitreya said, four great Kumara sages, headed by Sanaka, as well as Narada, Ribu, Hansa, Aruni, and Yati, all sons of Brahma, did not live at home, but became Urdhareta or Naistiki Brahmacharis, unadulterated celibates. Srimad Bhagavatam 481. Mrisa dharmasya bariyasit dambam mayam chacha. Another son of Lord Brahma was Irreligion, whose wife name was Falsity. From their combination were born two demons named Damba, or bluffing, and Ma. Irreligion, Adharma, married his sister named Falsity. Prabhupada mentions in the book that was the beginning of sex life between brother and sister. The unnatural combination of partners in sex life can be possible in human society only when there's Adharma. Chayo samabhavallobo nikritischa mahamate tabyam grodas chahim sasa yad durukti swasakali. Maitreya told Vidura, O great soul, from Damba and Maya were born Greed and Nikriti, or cunning. From their combination came children named Krodha, anger, and Himsa, envy. And from their combination were born Kali and his sister Durukti, harsh speech. Srimad Bhagavatam 483. The marriage of Adharma and Falsity is an interesting introduction to the chapter. Many children appear in that lineage, including Kali and his sister Harsh Speech. Harsh Speech plays a major role in this pastime. Dhruva Maharaj decided to sit on his father's lap, where his stepbrother Uttama was already seated. As Dhruva tried to climb up, his stepmother called him back and said, No, you cannot sit on the lap of the king. Only my son can. She told Dhruva that he should first worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be able to take birth from her womb in his next life. Then he could sit in his father's lap. The king didn't say anything because she was the younger wife and he didn't want domestic difficulties. He had more than one wife, so the chance of domestic difficulties also increases. There were problems with the elder wife, and she didn't know what to do because she was not the king's favorite, but she was wise. The mother of Dhruva was named Suniti, and the stepmother was Suruchi. Suniti said to Dhruva, Your stepmother Suruchi gave you a very good instruction because she told you to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Follow that instruction. And then comes the point where Dhruva Maharaj asked where the Supreme Lord can be found. And his mother says, I've heard from the sages that the Supreme Lord can be found in the forest. So here now we are in Vrindavan, and suddenly we are in the pastimes of Dhruva. And I thought we were speaking about pastimes of Krishna. But now we see that Vrindavan is a place where many various pastimes took place. Dhruva Maharaj was there in Vrindavan. Yes. And we can see how the Pandavas, some of their pastimes also take place in Vrindavan. So in this way, we see that many of the activities are part of Vrindavan. We are approaching Krishna through Vrindavan Dham and by entering into these pastimes, because it is by going through the holy Dham that we can fully appreciate the import of chanting Hare Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna means the all-attractive. And ultimately, Krishna is all-attractive in his Vrindavan pastimes. There, Krishna fully manifests his attractive features. When Radharani saw Krishna in Kurukshetra, she didn't want that Krishna. She wanted the Krishna of Vrindavan, because she knew very well that there in Kurukshetra, dressed up like a prince, Krishna is not manifesting all his pastimes. She wanted Krishna who played his flute, the Krishna from Vrindavan, and she wanted to meditate on that Krishna. Just near Dhruvatila is a nice forest, and when we walk through the forest, on the other side of the forest there is a kund called Krishna Kund, and it is at that place that Balaram was chanting japa. And when Balaram was chanting japa, he was chanting japa in such an extraordinary way that Balaram was becoming completely absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and his absorption was growing deeper and deeper. And at one point, Balaram just turned black, like Krishna. He was so much thinking of Krishna that he became like Krishna. Well, when we think of such things, then we appreciate what real chanting is, and how Balaram is our original spiritual master. So we go to the various holy places, and as we can see that Dhruva was performing austerities there, and that Dhruva was driven by anger. Dhruva was not driven by love of God. Dhruva was driven by anger, and because of his anger he performed austerities, and because of his anger he wanted a kingdom greater than his father, grandfather, and so on. So in this way, Dhruva was the prototype, the prototype of the devotee who doesn't come with a pure heart, the devotee who comes with other desires in his heart. And when one comes to Krishna, to his abode, to his holy name, which is non-different from Krishna, with other desires in the heart, then Krishna is hiding himself. Naham prakasa sarvasa yogamaya samtaha. He covers himself by his yogamaya, and one cannot see Krishna. So in this way, we come to Vrindavan, but we cannot see. We see only the external of Vrindavan. We cannot actually see the internal aspect of Vrindavan. The devotee who is more purified and has actually aligned his life in service to Krishna, that devotee can see Krishna to a larger extent. That devotee can see behind the externals. And we go to Vrindavan. Oh, nowadays it is so busy. When I first came to Vrindavan, at that time, Vrindavan was a sleepy town. You could go to Loy Bazaar and you'd have to wake up the shopkeepers who would be sleeping in the shop in the afternoon heat. You could be walking around Vrindavan. Practically speaking, at that time, there were maximum 2 or 3 cars a day coming to Vrindavan, not more. People would arrive by horse carts, by Tonga, from Mathura, carts loaded up with people and small horses, pulling that cart with wobbly wheels, and somehow or other coming to Vrindavan. So at that time in Vrindavan, we would walk just in the evening before sunset, and we'd see peacocks everywhere in the trees, even along the road, or in the back of our temple. Not far from it was the field of Raman Reti, and there was the Krishna Balaram tree, a black tree and a white tree on top. And there, other trees were also there. And then in the evening, all the peacocks would go into the trees, and we would just hear the peacocks calling out throughout the night. Early in the morning, all the peacocks would wake up around 3 o'clock, and they start calling out loud, and waves of calling peacocks would go from one side of Vrindavan to the other side of Vrindavan. So when one is in the holy abode of Vrindavan, one has to look with a deeper vision, deeper than the surface, deeper than what we just see there. One has to look, first of all, with the eyes of the scriptures. One has to look at through what we have heard, and we see how Krishna is manifest there. It may be a little difficult. We went to Radhakund, and it was actually quite crowded. There were loudspeakers with kirtan. It was a bit distorted, a bit noisy. It was a little awkward because Radhakund is a very private place where only Krishna and the topmost gopis will meet. Even the cowherd boys in Krishna's pastimes are not going there. Only Krishna and his gopi servants are meeting there. So it is an intimate place. But yet, now, while we were in the Dham, there were too many people. It was not so intimate. It was difficult to enter. And it was hard to visualize the transcendental Vrindavan. We did see the temples, we did see the steps leading into the water. But what we didn't see was that there was a golden bridge studded with jewels, just leading from the banks right to the middle of the Kund, and that there was a golden jeweled palace in the middle. That we couldn't see. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he could see. In his Govinda Lilamrita, Krishnadas is describing Radha Kunj as it exists on the spiritual platform. He's describing how on the corners there are 4 jeweled swings where the divine couple performs pastimes. We didn't see. I don't know about you when you went, but I never saw any jeweled swings. Maybe also better, because maybe we would have tried to break off some jewels and put them in our pockets. Maybe we would have become more attracted to the jewels than to Krishna. Imagine if we would see jewels on the pathway, we would just pick them up and collect them and forget all about Krishna. So the spiritual world is is for those who are simply thinking about Krishna's pleasure and are not interested in satisfying their own senses. Um, it is said that there is no difference between Boma Vrindavan, between Golok Vrindavan. These two are the same. And we can actually find there, we can find Krishna. So this is what we are doing as we are approaching the Dham, as we are approaching spiritual life, as we're chanting Hare Krishna, as we are sitting in a retreat, as we are hearing so many things from so many speakers. This is what we're doing. We're trying to find Krishna. Where is Krishna? Where? Oh, where? Is he in this lecture? Is he in this kirtan? Is he there? Are we finding him? Or are we already feeling tired? Are we already thinking, when is lunch? Or are we still digesting breakfast and thinking, oh, maybe I need a nap? Are we thinking, oh, how much time can we spend with this? I want to go out. I want to run. I want to, I want to go for a spin somehow or other. Let me do something. This is too boring because maybe we're not looking for Krishna. So first, before we can go to Vrindavan, we must have this eagerness to look for Krishna. So we started in Dhruva Tila, and now we're continuing in Dhruva Tila. Let us see a little more. So I spoke how, yes, Kali and his sister harsh speech, and it was by, and yes, harsh speech plays a major role in this pastime. Dhruva desired to sit on his father's lap, where his stepbrother Uttama was already seated. As Dhruva tried to climb up, his stepmother held him back and said, "No, you cannot sit on the lap of the king. Only my son can." She told Dhruva that he should worship Supreme Personality of Godhead to be able to take birth from her womb in his next life. Then he could sit on his father's lap. The king didn't say anything because she was the younger wife. Yes. So Dhruva was very upset and very determined as a Kshatriya. So I'm skipping a little bit because I don't want to read everything. And Narada instructed Dhruva. And gave him a sadhana. He told him to practice Ashtanga Yoga, including pranayama. He told him to make a deity of clay and worship that deity. And he told him to chant the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, in this way, Dhruva was undergoing a process of purification that is required. For us to really talk about Krishna in Vrindavan, let us first look at Dhruva and let us also make a real effort in sadhana. So are we chanting? A minimum of 16? Oh, in Vrindavan? Only 16 if we want to enter or more? Are we serving? Are we rendering service? Are we following principles of purity? All these things are required if we wish to enter that transcendental land. And so, after performing our preliminary purification, we are Yes, we are getting purified. So in Vrindavan, in the month of Kartik, we also have the disappearance festival of Srila Prabhupada. So let me just begin there. So we go through such exercises like listening to Prabhupada's remembrance for almost 4 hours yesterday on his disappearance day. It was an austerity. At one point, I didn't know how to sit anymore, but the exclusive focus on Prabhupada was there. For that group, Prabhupada really meant a lot. I liked how Guru Kripa spoke almost in sutras. He said that Prabhupada appeared like lightning, so intense and so short. All that incredible energy was there for a short period, and then it was over. In no time, he said, I don't know Radha and Krishna. I only know Prabhupada. That is actually the core. So that is very nice because we only know, we only know Prabhupada, really, what he brought to us, what he gave to us, and what do we know about Radha and Krishna? We may read, we may hear stories, and we can read many books. We can read the Krishna book, we can read Sarartha Darshini, which are the same stories from the 10th canto, but with the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We can read the Harivansa, which give us some more details. We can hear the Garga Samhita and hear many amazing things. In the Bhagavatam, we hear that at one point Bhumi, the deity of the earth, in the form of a cow, came before Lord Brahma in great distress. And Bhumi, the deity of the earth, which appeared in the form of a cow and was in great distress because she was overburdened by many military phalanxes of sinful soldiers who were burdening the earth with impious activity. And she felt depleted because of that. Lord Brahma, who saw the difficulties of Bhumi, decided that she was ready to sorry, I get distracted by the questions on this side. The Bhumi, she felt overburdened, and Lord Brahma felt for her, and then all the demigods went with Lord Brahma to the shore of the ocean of milk and prayed to Lord Vishnu, who said he will appear shortly. The Garga Samhita gives a little different description. The Garga Samhita says is that the demigods found a tunnel, and that along with Lord Brahma, they entered into a boat, and there was a river in that tunnel, and they went along that boat, and that boat took them to Golok. And then they were in Golok, and they went before Krishna, and they asked Krishna to please come and appear and please help the difficult conditions in this particular earth. So here we see a different description. Oftentimes it's said when we see different descriptions, then it may be different in different yugas, right? And so in that way there is no contradiction. So there is so much, there's always more, always new details, something we know or we may not know. That may be there. But the real thing is, where are we in our heart? If our heart is preoccupied with material things and with material enjoyment, then we cannot really approach the pastimes of Krishna. and we'll remain an outsider. No. We'll have our struggles with material motivation, with anger. Eventually, when Dhruva got the darshan, the personal darshan of the Lord, it was only then that Dhruva really dropped his previous material desire to have a kingdom greater than his father and grandfather. It was only then that Dhruva actually got the realization and said, I wanted broken pieces of glass and you gave me diamonds. So actually that what Dhruva received exceeded his expectations, and that is spiritual life. In the material world, reality is always less than the dream. And that is why the fundamental state of material existence is known as vyartata, or being frustrated. Parabhavas tavat abodhajato. Everyone in the material world is always defeated. Therefore, we can never realize our dream. In the material world, you have to settle for a compromise, settle for less. That is frustrating. In the spiritual world, reality is greater than the dream. That is what we see from Dhruva Maharaj's pastimes. So now, after having gone to Dhruvatila and having seen how Dhruva overcame his personal weakness, his fight with anger, by sadhana satisfying the Lord, and then by the mercy of the Lord received the darshan of the Lord, and then became actually purified, then Dhruva came to full realization. And so in this way we also prepare, and then Dhruva, and then we can enter into the Dham, to the consciousness of Vrindavan. And in this Vrindavan consciousness, the consciousness of satisfying Krishna, then we could actually begin to perceive pastimes of Krishna. Lord Brahma meditated for 16,000 years on the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis. And why so? Because although Lord Brahma knows the Vedas, knows all the different departments of Vedic learning, still Lord Brahma was not able to really understand the intimate pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. Lord Brahma was not able to enter these pastimes, and therefore he realized that the gopis are the most exalted because their love for Krishna goes beyond any material consideration. Krishna, when we were at Vamsivat in Vrindavan, a very nice place, and at Vamsivat, Krishna stood. Krishna stood and he played his transcendental flute. Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivat Titastataha Karsan Venu Shaner Gopi Gopinata Sriyestunaha. It is said that Krishna played his flute there and he attracted the gopis to drop everything. But dropping everything was not a small thing. It meant that they practically couldn't go back, that they had become like outcasts. They had virtually broken all the rules of society. And I mean, to a point, unacceptable. And now, out of grace, no longer acceptable to society. They burned their bridges. Well, so are we ready to burn our bridges? If we want to go to Radhakund and see the golden bridge that is leading up to a jeweled palace in the middle of Radhakund, then first we have to burn our material bridges. Otherwise, our material bridges that lead to our material enjoyments, to so many habits. I don't know what it is. Playing slot machines or hip hop or whatever it is. You know, whatever material attachment we have developed now, life after life, we are in this material world. Life after life, we are playing. We are playing with the material energy. Imagine, once we were dressed like Romans, yes, and we were trying to enjoy the Roman way, and now we may be dressed, right? Dressed like Londoners, and now we may try to enjoy the London way, or wherever we are from. We may be, uh, we may be, uh, we may be in this way, you know, influenced by the material energy, and so we cannot actually yet go to Vrindavan. So then what do? Then we just go. Therefore, we went first to Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi, Srila Prabhupada's house, and to take his blessings, and we read from Prabhupada's Krishna book, and we are serving Prabhupada. And in this way, in Vrindavan, we are there by the mercy of Prabhupada, and we are under the protection of Prabhupada, and we are remembering Krishna as Prabhupada described him. It is through his mercy, by hearing from Prabhupada, that we can appreciate Krishna. And Prabhupada translated Rupa Goswami's book and explained the verse, Anyabilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam, that we should be Anyabilasita sunyam, free from any other desire. So in this way, yes, we should be around Prabhupada. Now, when I was staying in Vrindavan, you may have been there from the beginning, and you may have heard the description how I used to stay in Vrindavan for many years. Yes. So I'd like to present to you that there are different circles of devotees around Prabhupada, the inner circle and the outer circle. In the inner circle, there's a great focus on Prabhupada as the most extraordinary transcendental personality, a Nitya Siddha, who descended straight from the spiritual world. These are linked to the spiritual world by his incredible realization, his intimate connection with and desire to please Krishna. And then, just like Dhruva Maharaj, we find ourselves with mixed motives. These mixed motives keep us in the outer circle. One doesn't get into the inner circle by initiation, although those who were initiated by Prabhupada certainly got a head start. They're ahead of us in terms of their start, but they also had to come closer by aligning their desires with his focus. Dhruva had difficulty aligning his desires even when he took up spiritual life. If he had just aligned himself with Narada Muni, he could have saved himself a lot of trouble. So, by aligning ourselves with Prabhupada, we can actually come into the inner circle. But as long as we are still having our own issues, our own attachment, positive or negative, to the material energy. Positive, we want to enjoy the material energy. Negative, we hate the material energy. We are afraid of the material energy. As long as we are preoccupied with so many, uh, material considerations, either attraction or fear or hate, then um, Krishna's pastimes and Vrindavan will remain at a distance. But Prabhupada's movement, because Prabhupada was a resident of Vrindavan, therefore Prabhupada's movement carries the standards of the residents of Vrindavan and of the mood of Vrindavan. It is then in Prabhupada's movement that the same pure devotional service of Vrindavan is held in the highest esteem. And therefore it is to Prabhupada's movement that we can be successful. When I joined in Vrindavan, it was amazing. How could I not join when in Vrindavan Krishna was so present? So in that place, I was experiencing very much the presence of Krishna. But then in the Krishna Balaram Mandir, after some time, I began to even more experience the presence of Prabhupada. And that is the secret, that actually Prabhupada is more present to us than Krishna. And there's no difference because Prabhupada is completely aligned with Krishna. And therefore, when we are with Prabhupada, we are with Krishna. That is the same essence, of pure devotional service, the same essence of anyabilasita sunyam, of being free from all other forms of desires, just like Rupa Goswami. So this is the this is the most wonderful thing. So I'm very happy to talk a little bit about Vrindavan. It's the Vrindavan is the home of Krishna, and therefore Vrindavan is naturally the home of Krishna, and naturally the home of all of us. And that is the greatest miracle, that wherever we are, in this lockdown, somehow or other, we are all stuck, right? Everyone is stuck somewhere. It wasn't necessarily that we chose a certain place. At least I didn't. I'm sort of stuck in South Africa and waiting to see when things open up. Many people got stuck. Some got stuck at home, but they also feel stuck. So wherever we are, we are. But by discussing, by these retreats, we can actually go to Vrindavan. We can change our consciousness into Vrindavan. The consciousness that is fully dedicated to the pleasure of Krishna, just as Vrindavan is. Lord Brahma couldn't understand the pastime of the gopis. Yes. What is our chance? Well, we are certainly not qualified, but we have one feature which is giving us special blessings, and that is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. That's the unique thing of this movement. It is by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya that we can approach Vrindavan, and that we can be elevated to understand the most intimate exchanges between Krishna and the gopis. And what is Lord Chaitanya teaching us? Lord Chaitanya is particularly giving Harinam Sankirtan, the congregational glorification of Krishna. And if we just get absorbed in glorifying Krishna somehow or other and describing his qualities and remembering him constantly, and make that our main occupation, then we'll change. We'll have a change of heart. We'll begin to develop attachment to this. And when we see how people's lives change by such discussions, then we are going through this change, this slowly we're developing a new taste. And when the new taste is there, then it is possible to leave all the material things behind. So I started a little early also, and now I've spoken for 1 hour on this topic. So maybe I can just start looking at some of the questions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
This is Asha from the School of Bhakti team here.
Hey,
you can see my video now.
Yeah.
Please don't humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. I'm not sure how you would like to do this, but we've amalgamated all the questions. We've got a lot coming in. I can read them out to you, so you don't have to scroll through the whole chat. Is that okay?
Okay. Sure.
Perfect. So we've got a lot of questions, and our team's been sending them in to me. So I'm just going to start with.
Okay. I just grabbed 1 minute my bottle of water because I forgot it at the table. I'm thirsty. So, okay, I'm back.
Thank you, Raj. First of all, it was a wonderful class. I've made so many notes here. Like, I've been scribbling a lot. I'm trying to listen at the same time. But some of the key things that I think a lot of our team was getting away from this was a few things, which was key openness. If everybody else could stay on mute, please, that would be great. We ask your videos off kindly. Thank you. Yeah, so some of the key comments I got from my little scribbling here was burn your material bridges. That was really powerful when you said that. And also, are we trying to find Krishna really? I think throughout this whole program, you really set the mood in the beginning for the rest of the day now. So I think all the devotees listening should think, are we trying to find Krishna in all our beautiful talks that we've got throughout the rest of the day? Our first question is from Sundananda Prabhu, who asks, we hear a lot about how Yashoda tried to deal with all complaints, but we didn't hear much about Nanda Maharaj. What was his role? And what happened to Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj years after Krishna left Vrindavan?
First of all, when Nanda Maharaj was approached, and Nanda Maharaj would also speak in a rebuking way about his son. It was said, "Oh, Nanda Maharaj, your son is so wonderful. Your son is so wonderful. You are so fortunate. We all wish we would have a son like Krishna." And then Nanda Maharaj says, "I don't know what you're talking about. This boy has a big problem. Look, his mother, she feeds him the best of the best at home. Every day, his mother cooks. There's so many cooks, and they give him this huge breakfast. He eats all that. Then he goes to the neighbors. he has breakfast with the neighbors, right? And it just stays breakfast time. And he just eats and eats and eats. And after that, he still steals. He still goes out to steal. I tell you, this boy is very lusty. Very lusty. It's a big problem. So Nanda Maharaj shared in the mood of Yasoda, and Yasoda shared in the mood of Nanda Maharaj. They both, as parents, were greatly concerned with the behavior of their child. Yes, when that day came, that Akrura came to Vrindavan on that big chariot, that day when Akrura took Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, that day, when that day happened, Vrindavan was devastated. But later, Uddhava visited Vrindavan as a messenger of Krishna. Uddhava first came on his chariot, a chariot just like Akrura. And Uddhava stopped that chariot just like Akrura did, in front of the house of Nanda and Yasoda. And then, when Uddhava went there as a messenger of Krishna, then he saw Nanda and Yasoda. And it said, and Yasoda, she was just in total separation from Krishna, and tears were streaming from her eyes. And because of her love for Krishna, milk was just streaming from her breasts. And when Uddhava saw her, Uddhava thought to himself, if she goes on like this, she's going to be a river. Right? And Nanda Maharaj looked at Yasoda and was shaking his head. And Yasoda said, oh Nanda Maharaj, how could you give permission to Akrura to take Krishna to Vrindavan? Why didn't you hide him? In this way, she was speaking. And then Nanda Maharaj said, ah, you mad woman, what are you talking? What are you talking? Don't you know that Krishna just went to the forest and he'll be back this evening? In this way, in separation from Krishna, both Nanda and Yasoda were experiencing transcendental madness due to the intense feelings of separation that they were experiencing. That is the nature of the love of the residents of Rajabhumi. And it is that same mood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed. Transcendental madness in the separation from Krishna. That means such eagerness to be with Krishna, that not a moment without him can be tolerated. That is what was going on. Next question. I lost your sound, sorry. No?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can you hear me now?
Yep, I can.
Perfect, thank you. I hope that answered your question, Sundananda Prabhu, very nicely by Maharaj. Another question we have is from Saraswati. Mataji is asking, is it okay to meditate on Krishna's pastimes whilst chanting? If yes, how can we do this?
Mm-hmm. I think that it begins with chanting, right? And it begins just with hearing. As we are chanting, we are hearing the holy name, and we should just focus on the holy name. Not that we should put on a tape and with some pastimes of Krishna and then we chant over that. That we should not do. That will just take away the concentration on the holy name. So we should chant the holy name and fully concentrate on hearing. Literally speaking, we should be all ear. right? It's the essence is about hearing ourselves chanting. But as we hear ourselves chanting and we hear the name of Krishna, well, then something will happen to us. Like in my case, I'll give you the example that before I joined this movement, somehow or other, I was involved in a musical jam session with a piano player. And that piano player had been in India and he played ragas. So I also knew a few ragas. I'd also been in India and I played guitar. So we did some ragas and other percussion instruments were there, and we're doing these ragas as good as we could. Then, so I was into it. It was ragas, a spiritual sound from India. Then this musician says, "Why don't we do some mantra also?" So I thought, yeah, that's great. You know, ragas, mantras. We all thought it was far out. So then we did mantra, and he started chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So it was interesting because we were chanting the Maha Mantra, but at that time I didn't have any prior association with this movement, and therefore I was not. I didn't have all kinds of association as I was hearing the mantra in my mind. Now, at that time, if you would say Krishna, I was just thinking, yeah, Krishna, that's a mantra, that's spiritual sound. Now, if you say Krishna, I see immediately lotus-eyed, uh, threefold bended form, yellow dhoti, blackish complexion like the rain cloud, playing the flute, and you name it, right? Because I've heard about Krishna. So as we hear about Krishna, our understanding of Krishna will also change. So as we're chanting, uh, our concept of Krishna will grow. And as when we're chanting, automatically the remembrance of Krishna's pastimes comes. That is very nice. That is very nice. But not that we artificially start remembering pastimes and listening to them while we're also listening to the chanting. No, we should listen to the name, to the sound. And then the remembrance, remember, there is Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering. And over time, the remembrance grows and grows and grows. And in this way, it goes from Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, right? We're going from the name to the form, to the qualities, to the pastimes of Krishna. Automatically. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. We have another question from Ganga Mataji, who is asking, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept our humble obeisances or grace to Srila Prabhupada. I wanted to ask, how can we burn our material bridges when there is so much opposition from family, from circumstances, and obviously from Maya herself?
Yeah, the material bridges are very strong. It's not so easy to overcome our material attachments. However, by doing service for Krishna, gradually we'll gain more strength and will become more detached from these material bridges. Prabhupada says, just like when we take off with a plane, right, and we go up in the sky, then immediately everything on the ground begins to look small. The houses like matchboxes, tiny little toy cars, like that. People like ants. So in this way, when we take off in devotional service, then material things also become smaller in significance. So it is by doing devotional service that we gradually come to a point where we can actually forget about some of these material bridges, and in keeping options open, and say, oh, you know, I used to like a certain type of music, but now I don't go over that bridge anymore. I've left that behind. Oh, I had a certain hobby, you know, I used to sport this and this, but now I've given that up because it's not really Vaishnav business and I have no more interest in it. So little by little, all the avenues that lead to our previous activities are no longer relevant to us. They lose their relevance. And in that way, we can give up the, you know, material bridges and gradually come to focus on the transcendental connection, the transcendental bridge to the spiritual world.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. We have over 25 questions and we're going to do our best to put them through, but we're only here till 11 o'clock. So we do apologize, devotees, if we can't get all your questions over to Maharaj. We have another question from Renu Mataji. The spiritual world is so far removed from the material world. How can I slay the doubts that come up in my mind and have the necessary faith to go forward with confidence?
Well, the material world, on the cover of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada designed a dust jacket for the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a hardbound book with a dust jacket, and on the dust jacket he made a drawing of the spiritual world. We see half is Goloka, then we see the Brahmajyoti effulgence, we see Vaikuntha planets, and then we see the material world also, and so on. So in this way, and then Prabhupada on the inside of the dust jacket, he gives a little description. And then he describes that a corner of the spiritual world is like the sky, the spiritual sky is like a corner of it is like covered with a cloud. And that corner that is covered, that is the material world. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada pointed out that actually we never left the spiritual world. We are still in the spiritual world, but currently in a cloud of illusion. And therefore, we think we are in the material world. Now, if you look at things at it like that, the spiritual world is not very far. The spiritual world is right here. And it says, Nitya Siddha, Krishna Prem, Sadhya Kabunai, Shravana Nisuddha Chittakarya Udai. By hearing and chanting, we are awakening the vision by which we can actually see the spiritual world. Then we are in this world and at the same time liberated souls. So for us right now, the spiritual world seems very far. Therefore, it's not that we have to think about the spiritual world all day, but we talk every once in a while about the spiritual world so that we keep the ultimate goal in mind and that we develop our focus about going back to Godhead. At the same time, our service is here. Our service is in the temple. Our service is in Rati Yatra. Our service is on the ground. Yes, very much so. At home, when whatever we cook, we offer to the Lord before we eat. In this way, our service is here, and we chant Hare Krishna, and then Golokira Premadana Harinam Sankirtana. Then the spiritual world will descend within the material world. Then we'll see the spiritual world here. So whether we hear about the gopis who cleanse the kunjas around Radha Kund with their long hairs, they open the braid and sweep the floor with their long hairs, or whether we hear about a devotee sweeping the temple floor of the manor with a broom, it's exactly the same thing. Same benefit, same platform. Both are equally transcendental.
Thank you, Maharaj, so much. The next question is from Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, who asks, you say we really only know Prabhupada and it's difficult to really know Radha Krishna. So should we prioritize reading Prabhupada Leela books about his pastimes and qualities compared from reading directly about Radha Krishna? You were so fortunate to have joined in the Prabhupada consciousness movement of 97 and 1978. But now we have so many leaders and so many books, etc. The idea is to read all books, but would you recommend a preference towards either cultivating Prabhupada Katha versus Krishna Katha? Thank you.
Well, it's an interesting question. I don't think it's one or the other, but I do think that all of us need to this Prabhupada Katha, and that we should really read the Lilamrita, the Prabhupada Lilamrita, and the other biographies about Prabhupada, so that we understand better who Prabhupada really was, what Prabhupada really desired. Because the more we align ourselves with Prabhupada, the more we can appreciate Prabhupada. I was meeting with one devotee who just focused on Prabhupada's Krishna book. Prabhupada gave us Krishna, so you can't separate Prabhupada and Krishna. And this devotee was just focused on Prabhupada's Krishna book, and not only for a short time, but for many, many years. A Prabhupada disciple, he'd just been reading the Krishna book for decades and decades and decades, again and again. And it was quite amazing. I would, in the discussion, bring up different points and share different realizations. And then he would give an example. Well, this actually comes up in the Krishna book also. And Prabhupada says in the Krishna book, this and this and this comes up. And it was amazing how much he had drawn from the Krishna book. It was really amazing. And I sometimes draw things from here and there and everywhere. And he just fully concentrated on the Krishna book. And he didn't miss out. It was all there. And that was kind of very enlivening to see that everything was there from the Krishna book. And he was drawing it all from just the Krishna book. So, yes, to focus on Prabhupada. Ultimately, Prabhupada's books are the essence. I have one example which I share with everyone, is that there are 4 books amongst Prabhupada's books that are particularly given as the essential books, and they are Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the Nectar of Devotion. These are the 4 principal books. I'd like to compare those books to rice dal, sabji, and chapati. And then there's so many other books out there that we also read. Those books I'd like to compare to chutney. So, you want some chutney every once in a while, but staple food is rice dal, sabji, chapati. Our staple reading is in Prabhupada's books. And then a little chutney by reading in other things. So reading Prabhupada's books, and also books, Prabhupada's biographies, reading about Prabhupada is very important. Very important. Like, we should know Prabhupada better than our own father. He's closer to us than our own father. Think about it. Our father may be close to our heart, but Prabhupada is greater and more important than our father. Therefore, we should know more about him than we do about our own father.
Thank you very much. We have another question here from Dira Saramani Dasa Prabhu. Maharaj, you mentioned how one should develop eagerness. Can you please provide some steps on how we can develop this eagerness and how to undergo purification for our advancement?
It is said that one gets enthusiasm from the Vaishnavas by serving the Vaishnavas. Therefore, we should serve the Vaishnavas who are eager to serve. And by serving them, we will also develop eagerness. And that's the formula. It is all about serving the Vaishnavas who are eager to serve Krishna. Very simple.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. We have another question which a lot of the devotees maybe could relate to this one. And there wasn't a name left, but the question is, if we have a yearning to go to Vrindavan to see and feel the home of Krishna, but circumstances keep stopping us from entering, should we feel that we have not earned the right to go there?
I think that Prabhupada gave everyone who is a member of this movement, who's connected to this movement, the right to go there. But that means that when we go, we must go following Prabhupada's instructions. And Prabhupada says that when we are in Vrindavan, we must always follow the four regulative principles. And even if normally we don't, right? Then when we are in Vrindavan, we should. And Prabhupada said, in such a case, one should stay in Vrindavan for 3 days and leave after that. If normally we don't follow principles, but in Vrindavan we do, stay for 3 days. If we regularly follow the regulative principles and we can come to Vrindavan and actually follow the regulative principles and chant and do devotional service, then we can stay 3 months. And if we are just dedicating ourselves wholeheartedly and fully in service to Prabhupada's mission and while performing proper sadhana and so on, then why don't we stay 30 years in Vrindavan? So the choice is up to us. 3 days, 3 months, or 30 years. Hare Krishna. So some bandwidth issue maybe.
You can hear me now. It seems to be just a technical bandwidth issue.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. We're between Africa and the UK.
We'll go to the next question. Okay, there's going to be some difficulty there. Next, when visiting Vrindavan, pastimes each day, try and each mercy as possible, but with say quality time and relishing each holy place. Can you kindly share your thoughts on how we make the most of our time in the Dham?
I think we can make the most of our time in the Dham, not necessarily by seeing the most places, but while we are visiting holy places, to do some quality hearing and chanting in these places. That we can sit down and properly hear about Krishna. If we are with senior devotees, we can hear from them. Otherwise, we can read something relevant from a relevant passage from the Krishna book. When we go to Kaliya Daha, the place where Kaliya, the Kaliya pastimes took place, we can read the pastimes of Kaliya from the Krishna book, and we can do a little, and we can chant. So in this way, the essence in Vrindavan is not just to visit many places, but to go deep in hearing and chanting, and to do devotional service. If we do that, then we take the best advantage of a stay in Vrindavan.
Thank you very much. And we have another question here from Govindananda Das. I need to ask you, Maharaj, how to be in that Vrindavan consciousness in Grahastha Ashram, as there are many engagements in Grahastha Ashram. Please kindly advise.
I think that in any ashram there are many engagements, right? I think the brahmacharis are often very busy, the grihastas are very busy, vanaprasthas we don't have many, and sannyasis are, I would say, understaffed, you know? So since we are understaffed, there is not enough of us to go around and we have to work overtime. So I don't know if anyone in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya has a lot of extra time. I doubt it. Uh, the thing is this, the Vrindavan consciousness it's not about extra time. It is about all the time, that everything must be connected with Krishna. Whether we are working in a job, we should take the fruits of that job and offer all the fruits to Krishna and engage it all in either donating it to Krishna or using it to support a Krishna conscious lifestyle. In this way, we should dedicate it all to Krishna. And that is the thing. Nowadays, who can escape from uh, material, from the material energy? We're living in this complex society. Like right now, we are all turning to the internet in this lockdown situation, and it has advantages because we can all hear transcendental knowledge. But for that, we have to play with computers and so on. uh, and I had these earphones on my head and so many things. Uh, it is a, what can I say? It is a an artificial situation. Maybe I would be happier if I was just chanting japa and if it would never touch electronics. Imagine if it would only touch my beats instead of the screen, huh? And that I would have touch beats instead of touch screen. Oh, how much would my life improve? That would be very nice. But as it is, so the complexity is there for all of us in this modern life, the modern world, to somehow or other connect it all with Krishna. So whatever it is that we have to do, in let's connect it with Krishna. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. Do we have time just for one more question?
No, no scritto per anche perché magari.
Could everybody else just... Maharaj, do we have time just for one more question?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Thank you. The final question is from Sonja, who's asking, thank you so much for your lecture and your description of your earlier experiences of Vrindavan and Radhakund. Does Krishna accept us even if we have material attachment and he hides before us just because we really search for him everywhere?
Krishna reciprocates. As we are turning towards Krishna, Krishna is seeing our eagerness to turn to him, even if he also sees that there are still many things within us that hold us back. So Krishna will reciprocate, and he will encourage us, he will support us, he will make arrangements for our purification, and sometimes he will lift a little tip of the curtain and just to give us a spiritual glimpse. And like that, we are never alone in our attempt to become purified. Krishna is with us every step of the way and intimately reciprocating us, sometimes encouraging us, sometimes testing us, sometimes pushing us, sometimes making it a little hard for us, whatever may be. We uh, we remain fixed. Just like now, you know, who likes this whole virus situation? It's a punishment to the world, you know, and it's something undesirable. But it gives us a chance to really uh, look at basic things like basic Bhagavad Gita. You know, you're not the body, your eternal spirit soul, and with the eternal servant of Krishna. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm not the body. Geez. So coronavirus can't do anything to me then, eh? Can only. Okay. That's right. Meanwhile, let's rub that stuff on our hands. I mean, watch out. I mean, anything can happen any moment. I've got some real good German disinfectant. It's the hands don't get dry, and at the same time, see, I'm expert and professional now. Get it everywhere. Ready to go, completely disinfected. So, how interesting to be transcendental to this physical reality. I'm not the body, eternal spirit soul, and meanwhile, washing my hands with all the disinfectant. Very interesting. So it is a time where we can realize the Bhagavad Gita on another level. That's very nice.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. We always love your humor. It always keeps us going. I think we're coming towards the end of the session. On behalf of the UK congregation and School of Bhakti, we would really like to thank you for, taking the time out of your diary to be here with us. And there was a lot of comments in the chat. I think you could see it on your screen as well. A lot of devotees were wishing you a happy appearance day. So we ourselves from Bhaktivedanta Manor and School of Bhakti, and on behalf of everyone, would like to wish you a happy appearance day, which was yesterday, we believe. And may we be blessed to have your association year after year. I think now